Galactic Industries headquarters. Kai Nakamura stepped through the grand entrance of Galactic Industries headquarters, his eyes darting around as he adjusted to the sweeping expanse of polished marble and towering glass walls that seemed to stretch into infinity. The security guard by the door cast a disapproving eye over Kai's school uniform, clearly questioning whether this student was lost or merely out of place among the business suits. "Can I help you?" asked the guard gruffly, leaning against his clipboard with arms crossed. Kai nodded politely, pulling out a neatly folded piece of paper from his backpack. "Yes, sir. Here's my appointment confirmation for today's tour." He handed over the document and watched as the security officer scanned it quickly before looking up at Kai again, this time with visible skepticism. "The student tour? You're quite young to be interested in Galactic Industries," he remarked, not unkindly, but still raising an eyebrow. "I'm very much into technology and space travel, sir. I'm actually working on a project for school about the history of interstellar commerce." The guard nodded thoughtfully as he studied Kai's ID card and returned it after verifying his identity against a digital system. "All right then," he said with a slight smirk. "You're cleared to proceed to reception. Tour starts at 10:30 exactly." "Thank you so much," replied Kai warmly, already calculating the time till his actual entry point in minutes from now. He made his way through winding corridors and past bustling employees, carefully noting every detail of his surroundings as he walked. The air was a blend of fresh scent and faint hints of lubricants, mixed with the hum of background chatter in various alien tongues, interspersed occasionally by bursts of English for common greetings or business calls. Kai's fingers fumbled briefly through notes hidden inside his backpack's pocket as he continued to observe floor plans, security protocols, and an array of data he had meticulously accumulated over years. As he moved deeper into the heart of Galactic Industries' labyrinthine layout, a tall figure clad in expensive corporate attire drew near him. Director Vexnar didn't seem to notice Kai's presence at all. His piercing gaze was fixed on some distant point ahead, as if trying to see through multiple layers of holographic screens. "Director Vexnar," called out an assistant from behind, "your conference call is set for 10 minutes. Vexnar turned slightly and nodded curtly in acknowledgement before resuming his walk towards the executive elevator. He observed him closely. No gray alien with a condescending smile that said he held power over countless lives and resources beyond imagination. Kai's heart raced, but remained steady as he resumed walking toward reception, where an older woman smiled brightly at him behind her desk. "Welcome to Galactic Industries, Mr. Nakamura," she greeted warmly yet professionally. "Your tour is starting now. Please follow me." She led Kai through a grand atrium filled with exotic plants and sleek furniture. The ambient light from overhead chandeliers reflected off polished surfaces, creating hypnotic patterns on the floor as they walked. The woman gestured towards a group of monitors displaying various corporate statistics, revenues, stock prices, global market shares, information that would normally seem overwhelming to most visitors, but held little mystery for Kai, who had been studying these matters since before high school. He focused instead on details about security protocols and escape routes displayed subtly in the background. As they walked further into a corridor lined with offices and meeting rooms where important negotiations occurred daily, Kai kept up his act while internally mapping every turn, each door, every surveillance camera. They stopped at what appeared to be an unremarkable side hall that housed several storage lockers. "This is your final stop," the woman began cheerfully. "The data center." The room behind a simple metal door was far from ordinary. though it contained rows upon rows of servers stacked high and humming with activity. Interesting place for a tour guide to end on such a technical note, Kai commented neutrally as they entered. She smiled again. It's also where much of our daily operations are managed, ensuring all systems run smoothly. Kai nodded intently, absorbing every detail about the room: exit routes, fire alarms, even tiny cameras discreetly tucked into corners or behind decorative panels designed to look innocuous but revealing under closer inspection. Once satisfied with his observations and notes, Kai concluded what had been a long day of preparation. His actual infiltration began now. He bid farewell politely before heading back towards the main atrium, where he could blend in again without arousing suspicion until it was time for him to return later that night, when security would be less vigilant. As if on cue, Vexnar reappeared amidst chatter and files. Completely unaware Kai had just mapped his location. The young human boy smiled quietly to himself. The first step towards justice was complete. He knew exactly where Director Vexnar stood in relation to everything he planned to do here tonight. No, it was time for phase 2. Kai left the lobby through an unguarded exit door, slipping a small data chip into his backpack before heading back out onto the streets of New Eden City with renewed determination. The day had only just begun, but Kai felt victory already taste sweet on his tongue, knowing had gained entry to Galactic Industries undetected and armed himself properly against their defenses. And all because one arrogant alien hadn't noticed him, because humanity spoke through data, and today it whispered secrets back into its own hands once more. Nakamura slipped silently into the darkened corridors of Galactic Industries late at night, his school uniform replaced by a sleek black jumpsuit, and his backpack brimming with cutting-edge technology he had meticulously prepared over weeks of planning. The building was quiet now. Guards patrolled less frequently after hours, their routines predictable from his countless virtual infiltrations. He moved past security checkpoints effortlessly thanks to the access codes stored on a small data chip hidden in his palm-sized device, a custom-built hacking tool that allowed him full control within Galactic Industries' digital realm. Kai's steps were light and deliberate as he navigated towards the server room, avoiding surveillance cameras with practiced ease. The air grew cool and heavy with metallic scents as Kai approached an unmarked door at the end of a dimly lit hallway. His breathing slowed to match the rhythmic hum of distant machinery, a familiar sound that echoed through his mind like a lullaby, reminder of countless hours spent dissecting Galactic Industries' security systems. Reaching into his pocket, he retrieved a thin metal strip and inserted it carefully between the door's edge and its frame. With precise movements honed by days of practice on virtual replicas, Kai slid the tool along until there was an audible click signaling that the lock had been bypassed. Finally, he whispered to himself as he pushed open the heavy door and slipped inside without a sound. The server room lay before him in all its technological splendor, walls lined with towering racks containing rows upon rows of blinking lights, humming fans, and dense wiring. The central console monitored system statuses, while data cables snaked across the floor like metallic serpents, linking each unit to the heart of Galactic Industries' network. The air was thick with static electricity. Kai felt it tingling against his skin as he stepped closer. A low growl emanated from one corner, startling him momentarily. But there stood a maintenance robot, a harmless, automated cleaner designed for nighttime tasks, such as dusting and recalibrating hardware components. Its sensors immediately recognized Kai's presence, but did not alert security due to the pre-programmed safety protocols intended to prevent unnecessary downtime. "All right," said Kai calmly, under his breath. "Let's get this show on the road." He approached a cluster of servers marked with alphanumeric labels, identifying them as belonging specifically to Director Vexnar. Pulling out another small device from his backpack, a portable data retrieval unit, Kai connected it directly into one server's external port. "Access request," he commanded quietly, and within seconds the blinking red light on the server turned green, indicating active connection. Data began streaming across screens in rapid succession, files labeled with code names reflecting complex encryption, but familiar to Kai's eye after months of analysis. These were his parents' research projects, stolen alongside their lives: biotechnology patents for advanced regenerative medicine, artificial intelligence protocols meant to revolutionize healthcare infrastructure worldwide. With practiced efficiency, he copied everything meticulously onto portable storage devices hidden inside his backpack, encrypted drives that could withstand even the most rigorous decryption attempts by Galactic Industries security teams. As each file transferred safely away from Vexnar's grasp and into Kai's possession, a sense of satisfaction began to build in him, a mixture of vengeance simmering alongside resolve. There was more here than just research. Deeper within these servers lay records detailing his parents' demise. A chilling thought sparked through Kai's mind as he scrolled down the list. "Project Blacko. Let's see what you've got," he muttered, clicking on folders with ominous names like Execution Protocol and Witness Disposal. Panic set in briefly when a notification window appeared demanding verification of his credentials. However, without hesitation, Kai inputted pre-programmed override commands that rendered the system momentarily vulnerable. "Come on." His breath hitched slightly, but he remained calm despite knowing full well what awaited him next. Minutes ticked by agonizingly slow as data loaded in front of his ISMLs between Vexnar and other high-ranking officials discussing plans to silence those who knew too much about Project Blacko. Detailed logs documented every step taken, from sabotaging equipment used during field tests where witnesses were accidentally killed, downgrading security clearances so victims had no way out once they became inconvenient, until finally arranging the fatal accident that ended his parents' lives. "Son of a bitch," Kai spat through clenched teeth. The words tasted bitter and cold as he realized the extent to which Vexnar had orchestrated everything with such meticulous planning, from framing an innocent lab assistant for the crimes committed by Galactic Industries' own agents, down to tampering evidence so that no one would ever question their guilt. Every moment stolen from his parents felt like a knife twisting in Kai's chest. Yet amidst this overwhelming rage and sorrow, there burned something else: determination fueled by injustice. "I'm not your pawn," he whispered fiercely, fingers moving quickly as more files downloaded onto portable drives beside him. Every single piece of evidence collected would be used against Vexnar when the time came for justice to prevail over corruption. Just then, a sudden beep startled Kai into awareness again. His device had finished downloading all available data pertaining directly back to his parents' deaths, along with records proving how they were murdered under orders from none other than Director Vexnar himself. "Now it's not just about money," he said aloud now, speaking through clenched fists, trembling slightly, but still holding on to resolve. "It's about justice." The server room door behind him creaked open softly. Kai spun around, instantly ready to face any threat, yet found only the maintenance robot rolling out of sight into a neighboring aisle. "Good night, you meddling he quipped dryly before turning back towards his work once more without further delay. The plan was set in motion, and now that this chapter had been written, it would be impossible for Vexnar to escape accountability for what transpired under his watchful eye. Kai's eyes remained glued firmly on screens displaying the last bits of data transferring over while he prepared himself mentally for whatever challenges lay ahead. His heart pounded, not with fear, but anticipation, a mixture of righteous indignation tempered by calculated foresight. The night was far from over, and neither were his intentions clearly resolute. He felt a strange mix of relief washing over him as the final bytes completed their download onto portable drives secured safely within reach behind every step taken so far tonight. With this new evidence in hand, Kai's quest had shifted gears dramatically. He wasn't just reclaiming what belonged to him anymore, was ensuring that no one got away with such atrocities ever again. The server room door closed silently after the maintenance robot as it continued its nightly rounds while leaving behind an indignant human boy who smiled quietly now amidst shadows of triumph and vengeance combined. Justice tasted sweeter than any victory Kai had anticipated. Knowing exactly what he needed to do next, without hesitation, once more stepping out into darkness, but ready for dawn breaking brighter, because humanity spoke through data, and tonight it whispered secrets back into its own hands again. A&D, now it's not just about money, it's about justice. Kai Nakamura stepped cautiously into his parents' old laboratory, a place filled with memories both cherished and painful. The sterile white walls were lined with rows of glass cabinets containing vials that glimmered under the fluorescent lights overhead. Despite the passage of time, everything remained untouched, as if frozen in an eternal moment. "Dr. Saito?" Kai called out softly into the quiet room. His voice echoed slightly before being swallowed by silence. He scanned his eyes across the lab, spotting movement behind one of the large glass display cases near the far corner. A figure stood there, looking back at him with recognition and a hint of sorrow in her gaze. "Kai, Doctor," Sato said gently as she approached him. She was an older woman, with kind but weary eyes that spoke volumes about what had transpired since his parents' deaths. "I've been expecting you." "You knew I'd come?" Kai asked, surprised yet unsurprised by her knowledge. "Of course, Doctor," Sato replied softly, placing a reassuring hand on Kai's shoulder. She led him to an isolated corner where they could speak privately without being overheard or disturbed. The air smelled faintly of chemicals, and the distant hum of machinery kept up its constant rhythm like background music in their somber conversation. "Your parents were brilliant, Doctor," Sato continued, her voice thick with emotion. "They trusted me enough to share what they knew about Galactic Industries, about Vexnar." "They told you everything?" Kay asked intently, his curiosity piqued and heart pounding with urgency. He had hoped for more than just the stolen research. He needed proof of corruption so deep it would crumble Galactic Industries from within. "Almost, Doctor." Sato sighed heavily, opening a drawer in one of her work tables to reveal an old laptop encased protectively by layers of foam and tape-sealed plastic baggies against dust and moisture damage. "But there's more. They couldn't tell anyone directly while alive." She handed the device over to Kai carefully, along with explicit instructions on how to unlock its contents without exposing him further danger. The weight of responsibility settled heavily upon his shoulders as he accepted it solemnly. "They were my friends, Doctor," Sato whispered broken-heartedly, after several moments spent in somber silence among familiar surroundings, once brimming vibrant scientific activity now hushed and still like a tombstone etched with untold stories yet to see light again soon. Kai's eyes widened slightly as realization dawned on him. These files, could be the missing piece of evidence necessary for bringing Vexnar down completely. He glanced over at Dr. Sato, who appeared weary but resolute. She was doing this not just out of love and loyalty towards his parents, but also out of a desperate hope that justice might finally prevail. "Thank you," Kai said honestly, after carefully examining the laptop's exterior for any signs it had been tampered with or compromised while under her care. "Without your help," he trailed off, unable to fully express how invaluable this information truly was beyond his current understanding and preparations already in place, but needing validation now more than ever before. Dr. Sato smiled faintly at him, then turned back towards a series of cabinets along one wall filled with various samples labeled meticulously with names of chemicals mixed together into complex compounds meant for advanced scientific research. His parents' lifeblood work stolen away so ruthlessly from them through calculated deceit and treachery by those who feared what they could uncover if given proper chance without interference. "There's still much left to do," she reminded him solemnly, her eyes reflecting determination matched only within Kai himself despite such young age compared against seasoned professional experience surrounding him here. "But I believe in you." Her faith bolstered his resolve considerably. He nodded once firmly, as if making a pact with both Dr. Sato and all who had come before them, striving towards same goal without ever losing sight no matter obstacles thrown their way. "Let's get started," Kai replied, activating the encrypted files on her laptop, now safely transferred onto secure storage drives within his backpack, already carrying multitude evidence collected elsewhere regarding his parents' murder plot orchestrated behind closed doors at Galactic Industries under Vexnar's command, while leaving innocent scapegoats to take fall for all sins committed here instead. The data began downloading instantly once he connected the portable device via USB cable plugged directly into laptop port. Images flickered rapidly across screen showcasing years' worth of correspondence intercepted between upper echelon executives, detailing fraudulent activities undertaken in order to suppress truth hidden amongst them far too long, now surfacing amidst efforts towards redemption finally coming full circle after tragic end initiated by such treacherous actions initially aimed against his family specifically. Kai felt a mix of emotions, rage, sadness, determination as he witnessed each revelation unfold before him. Each file contained damning proof that Galactic Industries had been involved in countless illegal activities spanning multiple planets and solar systems beyond mere theft from two insignificant scientists whom they believed no longer mattered, once dead yet proved fatally wrong about impact survivors willing make happen eventually. "We're almost there, Doctor," Sato encouraged softly, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder as he worked through the last bits of information being transferred over. The room's cool air seemed to grow warmer under their shared resolve and anticipation, building toward final confrontation awaiting completion soon after collection phase nearing its end, now within grasp finally. When all evidence downloaded onto portable drives secured safely, alongside every other piece amassed thus far in mission set out since loss occurred, Kai turned off laptop, with satisfaction seeping into his bones, knowing that Vexnar had no way of escaping accountability anymore. His heart swelled with righteous anger and resolve justice would be served at last. With everything he needed now gathered securely within reach behind him, it was time to move forward decisively towards next stage, planned meticulously while ensuring none could interfere. Once again, a long path leading directly toward face off against a rector responsible for orchestrating all tragedies surrounding his life thus far. Every step taken felt more deliberate than before. Kai's eyes were resolute as he prepared himself mentally and physically. "Let's go," he said firmly to Dr. Sato, stepping out of the lab once more into darkness, but ready for dawn breaking brighter, because humanity spoke through data, and tonight it whispered secrets back into its own hands again. A&D now, it's not just about money, it's about justice. Nakamura walked briskly down the gleaming white corridors of Galactic Industries headquarters, his footsteps echoing off polished floors as he navigated through rows of cubicles and past clusters of alien workers engaged in hushed conversations. The air was crisp yet tinged with a faint scent of ozone from the advanced tech that permeated every corner of this intergalactic corporation. He paused before entering one of the grander offices, taking a deep breath to steady himself. This meeting had been months in planning, but now it felt as though years weighed on his shoulders. Kai pushed open the door and strode forward into an expansive room dominated by sleek glass walls that offered panoramic views of the bustling cityscape far below. "Director Vexnar," he said, approaching a large conference table where Vexnar sat behind an array of holographic displays showing real-time financial updates from across known space. "I'm here to discuss my parents' account." Vexnar looked up from his work, with amusement playing on his feature as a tall gray alien in expensive corporate attire, condescending smile firmly planted. "Ah, the son of those pesky scientists," he said, dismissing the tablet screen before him and leaning back comfortably into his chair. "What can I do for a student who seems quite out of place here?" Kai's expression remained unyielding as he set down his backpack beside him and pulled out an old-fashioned piece of paper with ink smudges at its edges, request letter written in meticulous script asking formally about the status of Dr. Sato Nakamura and Dr. Kiro Nakamura's accounts, which were supposed to be managed by Galactic Industries since their untimely death. "I want my balance," Kai repeated, placing the document squarely on the table between them for emphasis. Vexnar laughed heartily, a sound that grated against Kai's nerves like fingernails scraping across glass. "Your parents' account was settled ages ago," he declared with arrogant certainty in his voice and dismissive wave of hand to indicate there wasn't any more left to discuss here today regarding matter at stake. "But not the balance, you think," Kai replied, reaching into his bag again, but this time producing a small tablet device instead. "I want what you stole me parents' research." The room's temperature seemed to drop several degrees as Vexnar's smile faded sharply under Kai's unwavering gaze. His eyes narrowed slightly, and he leaned forward over the table, fingers drumming impatiently against its surface. "Careful, boy," warned the director sternly now, all traces of amusement gone from his demeanor, completely replaced by cold calculation behind those piercing eyes staring down at him accusingly, instead like prey caught squarely within sights of predator ready to pounce upon unsuspecting victim anytime soon. He met Vexnar's glare with an equally unyielding stare before he typed rapidly on his tablet screen. "Or what?" came the young man's challenge back as several holographic images flickered into existence, hovering mid-air around them, displaying damning evidence collected meticulously over months spent researching every dark detail behind Galactic Industries' underbelly. Director Vexnar leaned back once more, eyes scanning through the data with increasing unease and growing realization dawning across his features, suddenly recognizing just how close this boy had come, uncovering truth buried deeply beneath layers, deception intended to remain hidden forevermore from public eye. "Let me show you what I found," Kai continued resolutely, clicking open another file on screen showing a detailed timeline connecting the dots between Galactic Industries' fraudulent activities and Dr. Sato's death, labeled officially as an accident. As images flashed across holographic displays surrounding him, revealing damning evidence of corruption extending far beyond simple theft to systematic destruction of innocent lives for profit motives alone, Vexnar's face twisted into a mask of rage mixed with fear at being exposed so completely by mere teenager daring enough confront him head on, demanding justice served fully, instead accepting tragic losses as inevitable consequences, faced in pursuit greater glory and wealth regardless human cost involved. "Who are you?" growled the director fiercely, now rising from his chair to tower menacingly over Kai, who stood firm under pressure, showing no sign backing down. Despite overwhelming odds stacked heavily against him, this moment facing formidable adversary determined crush any opposition standing squarely between him reclaiming rightful inheritance stolen away years ago when both parents lost their lives tragically under suspicious circumstances, leaving only faint clues behind hinting deeper layers, corruption lurking beneath surface, waiting patiently for opportune moment strike again. "I am the son of Dr. Sato Nakamura and Ikiro Nakamura," Kai declared firmly, voice steady despite growing tension in air thick with unspoken threats hanging over them like storm clouds gathering ahead of impending tempestuous weather brewing dangerously close, ready unleash full fury upon unsuspecting world, unaware just yet scale devastation waiting patiently beyond horizon until moment strikes perfectly. "You have no proof," snarled Vexnar, suddenly grabbing Kai's collar and yanking him forward violently, causing the holographic displays to waver precariously in midair. But despite this show of force from powerful directors seeking control over situation through sheer intimidation tactics alone, rather than logic or reason, prevailing arguments presented thus far against his willful blindness remaining steadfastly oblivious reality around them until confronted directly by inconvenient truths threatening collapse, entire empire built upon falsehoods and deception. "Yes, I do," Kai replied calmly as he pulled free with practiced ease, years of training honed under guidance wise meant or willing teach him how navigate treacherous waters, corporate world filled deceit and betrayal waiting eagerly pounce unsuspecting victims caught unaware off guard when least expecting it all around them. Turning back towards holographic displays hovering silently above table, now showing clear connections linking series unfortunate events directly to actions undertaken by Galactic Industries themselves rather than innocent scapegoats framed unfairly taking blame undeservedly, Kai pressed forward without hesitation or fear, entering final stage long plan mission aimed exposing truth buried deeply beneath layers corruption, intending bring justice finally serve those lost tragically under tragic circumstances years ago, left unfinished business hanging over them until now when youngest survivor ready face formidable foe directly demanding accountability fully rather than accepting status quo blindly. "Let me show you what I found," Kai repeated firmly, his voice carrying clearly across the room despite Vexnar's attempts to intimidate him with brute force alone. The director's grip loosened slightly as he realized the futility of his actions against this young man who had come so prepared and knowledgeable about every detail. Kai nodded at Dr. Sato standing silently behind him, her presence a silent support that bolstered Kai's resolve further. "We have gathered evidence," she interjected calmly but firmly, stepping forward to stand beside Kai as the holographic displays continued their unflinching display of data and documents, proving beyond doubt Galactic Industries' involvement in illegal activities. The air buzzed with tension as Vexnar's eyes darted across each file displayed before him, years' worth of correspondence intercepted between executives detailing fraudulent activities aimed at suppressing truth about Nakamura's murder plot. Each revelation brought a chill to the room, highlighting the extent of his crimes and implicating Galactic Industries deeply in their cover-up. "Do you still believe me powerless?" Kai asked softly yet forcefully as Dr. Sato activated one final set of images, showing connections back to Vexnar himself, directly involved orchestrating Nakamura's death, under pretense securing research for good of galactic society, while secretly planning steal all accomplishments, claim them own, instead leaving no trace behind, tying strings neatly together in false narratives spun skillfully through manipulation and deceit. Vexnar's lips thinned into a line as he realized the gravity of what was unfolding. The condescending smile that had greeted Kay earlier vanished, replaced by something much darker, a realization that his carefully constructed web of lies might finally unravel at this boy's hand. "Your parents' account was settled," Vexnar repeated again, trying to change subject back towards original request, seemingly unaware reality now far beyond simple financial compensation offered in exchange silence about tragic death faced unwillingly, instead demanding justice fully served through truth, exposed light shining brightly upon deeds once hidden darkness successfully for too long without consequence anymore. "But not the balance, you think," Kai replied firmly, his eyes never leaving Vexnar's as he continued typing rapidly on tablet screen, pulling up final piece evidence, tying loose ends together clearly, now linking Nakamura's fate directly to actions undertaken by Galactic Industries themselves rather than innocent scapegoats framed unfairly, taking blame undeservedly all along timeline, events unfolding tragically until this moment, facing each other squarely within boardroom, discussing matters far beyond simple monetary disputes. Vexnar's face twisted in a mask of rage and fear as the full implications set in. "Careful, boy," he warned again, but now with genuine concern rather than dismissive amusement from earlier moments ago, before meeting began formally, under guise discussing settled accounts long since closed permanently, without reopening negotiations ever again like initially thought possible, until evidence surfaced proving otherwise, completely changing dynamics between them, now facing each other squarely within walls. Galactic Corporation headquarters, demanding accountability fully served through truth, exposed light shining brightly upon deeds once hidden darkness successfully for too long without consequence anymore. "Or what?" Kai challenged back, his voice steady and calm despite the growing tension in the room. The holographic displays continued to flicker with evidence of corruption that threatened to bring down Galactic Industries from within if left unaddressed any longer. The air seemed to crackle with electricity as both men stared each other down. A silent standoff between generations, between old power and new resolve, standing firmly on principles, no matter cost involved in fighting for what's right over selfish gains sought through deception and manipulation alone rather than genuine care. Humanity overall suffering unjustly because of actions taken without consequence ever faced again, until now when youngest survivor ready face formidable foe directly demanding accountability fully served those lost tragically under tragic circumstances years ago, left unfinished business hanging over them, finally resolved once and for all. "Let me show you what I found," Kai repeated firmly, his voice carrying clearly across the room despite Vexnar's attempts to intimidate him with brute force alone. The director's grip loosened slightly as he realized the futility of his actions against this young man who had come so prepared and knowledgeable about every detail. Kai turned back towards holographic displays hovering silently above table, now showing clear connections linking series unfortunate events directly to actions undertaken by Galactic Industries themselves, rather than innocent scapegoats, framed unfairly, taking blame undeservedly, pressing forward without hesitation or fear, entering final stage long-planned mission aimed exposing truth buried deeply beneath layers, corruption, intending bring justice, finally served those lost tragically under tragic circumstances years ago, left unfinished business hanging over them until now, when youngest survivor ready face formidable foe directly demanding accountability fully rather than accepting status quo blindly. A&D now it's not just about money, it's about justice. Kai's eyes narrowed as he turned towards Vexnar, his voice steady and filled with an undercurrent of determination. "I've waited a long time for this moment," Kai stated plainly. Vexnar laughed harshly, but the sound was strained, tinged with fear that flickered across his face before being quickly suppressed by cold fury. "A boy like you doesn't understand power," he spat out cruelly. The Kulvar's eyes glinted in the dim lighting of their private boardroom as he leaned back into his chair, fingers tapping impatiently against its polished surface. "And a man like you doesn't know when to stop." Kai didn't hesitate, lifting his wrist and activating the small device there, a sleek piece of technology that buzzed softly under his skin. The holographic screens around them flickered and brightened as data began streaming onto their surfaces, timestamps from the research lab's server logs, and a stark neon blue text against black backgrounds, financial transfer records detailing millions disappearing overnight into shadowy shell companies with names like Interstellar Tech Solutions and Galactic Innovations, Inc. The air filled with static hums, evidence of illicit connections between Vexnar's personal communications network and the security footage from his office on the day Kai's parents were supposedly killed. Vexnar's gaze darted towards one screen in particular, where a grainy image was playing, a blurred figure moving through corridors late at night. His lips thinned into a line, but he remained silent for now as more data flooded onto other screens around him, emails exchanged between high-ranking Galactic Industries officials, detailed schematics showing how security systems had been tampered with to allow unauthorized access, and sabotage reports on the accident that killed Kai's parents retracted in favor of new narratives blaming rival corporations or environmental factors. "Careful, boy," Vexnar warned again, but this time his voice lacked conviction. He was scrambling now, realizing how little ground he had to stand on amidst these revelations. Kai continued without pausing for a response. "This isn't just about me anymore." His fingers danced across the device in his hand as more files began uploading onto screens throughout the room. A personal journal entry from one of Vexnar's lieutenants, detailing an order to destroy evidence linking Kai's parents' research back to them, emails between Galactic Industries' PR department and external consultants about how best to manage public perception following the incident. Each piece was meticulously placed like a puzzle ready for assembly. "Or what?" Vexnar challenged again, though his bravado seemed hollow against the overwhelming weight of proof unfolding before him. Kai's eyes flickered briefly towards each screen, as if making sure they were all properly displayed and visible to both himself and their target audience. Screens covering every inch of wall space in this once private boardroom. "They are watching," he said simply, pressing a few more buttons on his device with precision. Static crackled louder now, until it filled the room entirely, a loud buzz drowning out any remaining attempts at conversation as the images shifted from holographic displays to live feeds connecting directly into every screen within Galactic Industries' sprawling headquarters. Vexnar's mouth dropped open in shock and horror, eyes darting frantically around him. "No," he murmured under his breath, fingers curling protectively over empty air where a weapon might have been if this wasn't just about showmanship, but actual intent behind it all. "They are watching," Kai repeated louder now, so there was no mistaking the declaration. He pressed another button, and suddenly every screen across Galactic Industries HQ began broadcasting the damning evidence directly to the news networks, then onto galactic feeds used for everything from daily bulletins to interstellar trading updates. Vexnar's face splashed prominently on each one as Kai continued uploading timestamps of research files stolen years ago, shell company accounts draining funds at specific times according to orders sent by Vexnar himself over secure channels designed only he could trace back to him. Security alarms blared nearby, echoes reverberating through the halls, but too late now. The damage was done, and there was no putting it back together again. Once Pandora's box had been opened this wide open for everyone to see, holographic screens lit up every inch of wall space, not only in their room, but across entire buildings stretching far beyond until reaching countless homes spread throughout planets connected via galactic internet. "Stop!" Vexnar finally shouted over the growing din around them, his voice cracking under strain. "What are you doing?" Kai's lips curved into a thin smile as he tapped out final commands on his device, a very piece of data fully exposed now, without any chance for retraction or denial, given how far it had already spread beyond their walls before Vexnar could have even begun making preparations to stop such an eventuality from occurring in first place. "I'm showing the galaxy what happens when power is abused," Kai said softly, but with a conviction that left no room for doubt. "And I'm taking back what's mine." The screen continued flashing rapidly through various feeds and live streams showing more than just evidence of corruption within Galactic Industries, but also images from surveillance cameras stationed throughout its buildings, recording security teams rushing into the boardroom, news anchors pausing mid-sentence to comment on breaking stories about an unprecedented data leak exposing criminal activities at one of most powerful corporations known across galactic sectors. Vexnar's face was a mask of rage and fear as he stared helplessly up at these displays now fully out of his control. His attempts to reach for some semblance of authority, calling out orders, screaming into comms links built directly into walls, only yielded silence from other end, as everyone involved knew full well any action taken would be captured equally by systems currently turned against them. "Stop this!" he shouted again, but the words hung in air unheeded. Security personnel were already entering rooms around building, cameras and drones swarming overhead, while screens continued streaming their arrival moments before they could even enter physical space of boardroom itself, due to sheer speed at which data had been uploaded throughout network systems under control by someone who clearly knew every weakness hidden beneath surface layers. Kai's eyes never left Vexnar as he stood there, calm amidst chaos erupting around him. "They are watching," Kai repeated for the final time, but this wasn't just about him anymore, or even those directly affected by fallout of what had been unveiled here. Toddy, it was statement to entire galaxy that justice could be served regardless who wielded power and how long it remained hidden behind layers deceit designed specifically prevent such moment from ever happening. Vexnar's face twisted in final scream, hands reaching out frantically as if trying grasp hold reality before it slipped completely beyond reach. But there was nothing left to grab onto now except bare truth, laid exposed starkly against cold light shining brightly down upon actions taken years ago, without thought of consequences, until faced head-on by youngest survivor ready to take them fully into account. "Now," Kai said quietly, turning one last time towards screen broadcasting everything outwards beyond walls they stood within. "It's about justice." The whole galaxy watched as a 16-year-old boy brought down an entire corporate empire with nothing but truth and technology, no longer just fighting for personal revenge or recognition lost to his parents' work years ago. Kai had become catalyst sparking widespread demand across countless planets, demanding transparency, accountability from institutions previously thought untouchable through sheer might alone. And in that moment, standing firm against man, who orchestrated fall of everything he knew growing up, Kai found balance, restoration. Justice served not just for him, but all those silenced by Vexnar's actions long before ever met eye to eye across table, now surrounded by evidence speaking louder than any words could have conveyed. Director Vexnar's face was a mask of rage and fear as he stared helplessly up at his building's screens, which were broadcasting every move inside Galactic Industries headquarters live to an audience across the galaxy. The footage showed security teams rushing into boardrooms, images from surveillance cameras stationed throughout its buildings capturing their actions in real time. "Stop this!" Vexnar screamed again into a comms link built directly into the walls of his private office within Galactic Industries' central tower. There was no response. Everyone involved knew full well that any action taken would be captured equally by systems now turned against them. Kai Nakamura stood calmly beside him, his school uniform slightly rumpled, but eyes clear and focused. "They are watching," Kai repeated quietly for the final time. The 16-year-old boy had come prepared. Every detail of this plan was meticulously planned out over months. He knew exactly what he needed to do. "Who are you working with?" Vexnar demanded, his voice barely above a whisper now as fear took hold. "No one," Kai replied evenly. His backpack lay open on the floor beside him, revealing an array of tech gadgets and devices, small drones hovering around the room, data cables snaking across tables, connecting to every terminal within range. The screens showed security personnel entering rooms around the building, cameras and drones swarming overhead as if in response to Kai's command. The sheer speed at which the data had been uploaded throughout network systems was breathtaking, the entire operation seamless from start to finish, because he knew where all the weak points were hiding beneath layers of corporate secrecy. "Did you think this would be easy?" Vexnar spat, trying once more for some semblance of control over proceedings. "Maybe," Kai admitted with a small smile that didn't reach his eyes, "but I planned for everything." The room was bathed in the harsh white light emanating from screens and security cameras, alike every shadow sharp-edged against walls, painted a sterile corporate gray. The scent of new carpet mixed with ozone as circuits worked overtime under Kai's guide, and Sova had lights flickered briefly before stabilizing to an almost painful brightness. "Why are you doing this?" Vexnar asked, voice laced with desperation now that he could see the end game unfolding around him. "For my parents," Kai answered simply but firmly, turning one last time towards the screens broadcasting everything outwards, beyond walls they stood within, "and for everyone else who's been silenced by your empire." His eyes were cold as ice chips, reflecting only hatred and determination in their depths. Nothing left to hide behind or distract from truth laid starkly before them both now. "Justice doesn't come easy," Kai continued, voice steady despite the weight of everything riding on these next moments. "Are you done?" Vexnar asked through gritted teeth, as if hoping his authority could still carry some sway, even in this moment, where all cards were turned over, finally revealed for all to see their true colors. There was no answer needed. Kai simply nodded slowly, hands moving deftly across controls hidden within reach on the table before him. "Now," he said quietly but clearly, as screens around them lit up once more, this time showing footage captured from outside buildings and beyond, galaxy-wide networks now connecting every piece of evidence together into unbreakable chain. "It's about justice." Outside, crowds gathered in virtual spaces and physical locations, alike people watching events unfold with a mix of awe and disbelief, as Kai stood firm against Director Vexnar's final attempts at control or recrimination. The footage, played out across billions of screens, every detail captured without filter, showing exactly how one boy brought down an entire corporate empire armed solely with truth and technology. And in that moment, standing solidly within room now filled entirely by evidence speaking louder than any words could have conveyed, Kai found balance beyond simple revenge or recognition for parents lost so long ago. He had become catalyst, sparking widespread demand across countless planets, demanding transparency, accountability from institutions previously thought untouchable through sheer might alone. "Arrest Director Vexnar immediately," a voice boomed over intercom systems now under full control by Galactic Industries' internal security teams. "He's been broadcasting his own crime scene." He watched as officers approached the boardroom door. Cameras followed their progress, every step captured live in chilling detail. The air inside was thick with tension and anticipation, a one daring to breathe too loudly for fear of breaking spell. "Director Vexnar is under arrest," an officer declared once they entered room now filled solely by evidence against him. "The charges will include murder, theft, and obstruction of justice." And as if confirming this statement, an unspoken agreement between screens capturing every movement within building itself, more footage played out showing similar scenes across multiple locations simultaneously. Back inside the boardroom, Kai's eyes met Dr. Sato standing quietly beside him, a familiar face amidst chaos born purely from actions taken today against empire built upon lies and deceit over decades, long buried beneath surface layers of corporate secrecy, until now revealed starkly into light, shone brightly down by boy they once ignored or dismissed entirely. "Your parents would be proud," she said softly, her hand resting gently on Kai's shoulder as if offering comfort, despite knowing full well there was little left to say after all that had been accomplished here today. And in turn, Kai looked at building one last time, standing tall against sky, but now filled with empty promise of power, once wielded cruelly without thought. "I know," he replied quietly before turning away towards door. Officers were already beginning to clear out for him, knowing full well there was nothing left within these walls worth holding on to anymore beyond simple need for justice served not just personally, but galaxy-wide demand for transparency, accountability from institutions previously thought untouchable through sheer might alone. The boy they once ignored, the orphan dismissed entirely as irrelevant by corporate powerhouses built upon foundations laid years before even existed, growing up under shadow of empire's cruel hand. He had burned their empire down with nothing but truth, and in doing so found balance beyond simple revenge or recognition for parents lost too long ago, without thought spared, until faced head-on once more by youngest survivor ready take them fully into account, finally speaking out against tyranny reigning unchecked over years, left unchallenged. And as Kai stepped out of building now filled entirely by evidence, speaking louder than any words could have conveyed, he knew justice had been served.